There's something about late nights, when the world feels quiet, when everyone else is asleep. And it's just you and your thoughts. The soft hum of the fridge, the occasional sound of a car driving by, and the gentle light from a lamp. In those moments, your mind starts to wander, and questions come up. Why can't I just commit to this? Am I always going to feel this scared? What if I make the wrong choice? These questions don't shout or demand attention. They come in softly, sneaking into the quiet, waiting for you to notice them. And sometimes, they can feel overwhelming. If you've ever felt this way, I want to remind you that being scared of commitment is more common than you think. It doesn't make you weak or bad. It just shows that whatever you're thinking about matters to you. Deep down, you want to do things right, and that's why the fear is there. It's just part of being human. Today, let's talk about this fear together. Not as something to fix or get rid of, but as something to understand. We'll take our time, look at it closely, and see where it comes from. Step by step, we'll try to make sense of it. Think of this like walking through a garden. Some parts are beautiful and bright, while others feel dark or messy. But each part has something to teach us. So instead of rushing, we'll go slowly. Because sometimes the best way to deal with fear isn't to fight it. It's to listen to it, understand why it's there, and gently let it go when we're ready. So, take a deep breath. Let's start this journey together, one step at a time. When I was younger, I thought commitment was simple. You make a decision, stick to it, and that's it. But as I grew older, I realized life is messier than that. Decisions are bigger, and sometimes they carry more weight than we expect. I have a friend, Emily, who used to joke about how she couldn't even commit to a brand of toothpaste. She'd laugh and say, "If I can't choose between mint or charcoal, how am I supposed to choose a career or a partner?" We laughed, but there was truth in what she said. The fear of commitment isn't about being lazy or indecisive. It's about caring deeply. It's about taking the time to think things through, because we want to make the right choice. The book The Paradox of Choice says that thinking before making a decision helps you feel more satisfied later. So if you're hesitating, it's not a sign of failure. It means you're giving this the attention it deserves. And that's okay. Let's dig a little deeper. Why does this fear exist? Understanding the root of it doesn't solve everything, but it gives us clarity, which is a starting point. Firstly, it's the fear of losing freedom. When I was 10 years old, I got my first bicycle. Riding it felt like flying, like I could go anywhere. As I got older, wanting freedom started to conflict with the idea of committing. Choosing one thing felt like giving up 100 other possibilities. A friend of mine, Jake, explained it perfectly. "If I take this job," he said, "I'm scared I'll lose my weekends. If I get into a relationship, I'm afraid I'll lose myself." The fear of commitment often comes from the belief that we're trading freedom for security. But what if commitment isn't about giving something up? What if it's about gaining something new? Such an opportunity to create something important and lasting. The fear of not being good enough is also taken into account. This one's personal. I used to be terrified of starting anything new, whether it was a hobby, a relationship, or even this podcast. That is because I was afraid of failing. I'd ask myself, why would anyone care what I have to say? But then I came across a quote by Brené Brown. Vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. It hit me. I wasn't afraid of failing. I was afraid of being seen as imperfect. If you've ever felt this way, remember, commitment isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, trying, and learning as you go. Sometimes commitment feels scary because of something that happened before. Maybe you've been hurt, a breakup, a project that failed, or a friendship that ended. Those memories can leave a mark, but here's what I want you to know. Your past doesn't define your future. Every experience, whether good or bad, has taught you something. You've grown from it, even if it hurt. Commitment can feel like a huge mountain to climb. But what if we start with just one small step? Instead of focusing on the big picture, we can practice with little promises, little actions, and little wins. These small steps build trust, not only with others, but more importantly, with ourselves. Here are a few ideas for you to keep small steps. The first thing is keeping a promise to yourself. Have you ever made a promise to yourself and then brushed it off? Like telling yourself you'd go for a walk, but then the couch seemed more inviting? Keeping a small promise to yourself can be a game changer. For example, drink water first thing in the morning. It's simple, but it sets the tone for the day. You're telling yourself, I care about my health, and I'm following through. Or you can write in a journal for 5 minutes a day. You don't need to write anything deep. Even a sentence or two about how you feel is enough. The second thing I recommend here is following through on a small task. Sometimes the fear of commitment comes from a fear of failure. Whether it's folding laundry or tidying up your desk, just start with something small, something achievable. Finishing a task gives you a sense of accomplishment. These small actions show you that you can commit, even if it's just to tiny things. And over time, those tiny things add up. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to stay in your comfort zone? It feels safe and familiar. But have you also noticed how, deep down, a small voice sometimes whispers, "What if you tried something different?" That voice isn't there to upset you, it's guiding you toward growth. Saying yes to something new doesn't mean ignoring what you know or committing to something forever. It's simply an invitation to explore. To open a door you might not have considered and peek inside. Imagine walking into a space where you don't need to be perfect or know everything. A yoga studio, an art class, or a cozy kitchen for a beginner's cooking lesson. What if you let yourself be a beginner, just for a little while? Have you thought about joining a social group? Walking into a room full of strangers can be intimidating, I know. But it can also be one of the most rewarding things you do. A listener with the first letter named M once shared her story with me. She was new to her city and felt disconnected. She decided to join a local hiking group, even though she wasn't sure if it was her thing. The first meetup was awkward, she didn't know anyone, and the trail was harder than she expected. But as the weeks went by, those strangers became friends. The group wasn't just about hiking anymore. It became a place where she felt seen and supported. You don't have to find your people right away. Just enjoy the act of stepping into a space where connection is possible. One of the reasons we're becoming more afraid of commitment is because of vulnerability, especially in relationships. For a long time, I thought being vulnerable was something to avoid. I worried that showing my fears or doubts would make people see me as weak or even push them away. But over time, I realized something important. Vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's what connects us. When you let someone see the real you, your hopes, fears, and even the messy parts, it opens the door to something honest. This isn't just about love, though it matters there too. In relationships, being vulnerable doesn't scare the right people away. It draws them closer. The key is here. Then be strong and talk directly to the people around you too. It will help you solve the problem in some way. When you're walking on a path, sometimes you trip over a rock. It hurts, but it also teaches you to watch your step next time. You don't stop walking, you just move forward more carefully. The same is true with commitment. It's okay to feel cautious. It's okay to take your time, but don't let past pain stop you from moving forward. You've learned so much, and you're ready for the next step. Only when you take action yourself can the pain and fear of commitment heal quickly. The people around you are definitely important in this journey, but you are the one who decides everything. So now decide, are you still a person who is afraid of commitment?